wisdom and action.
Hello, this is my guide for my Poisonous Concoction Pathfinder. As you can see, it has insane single target damage. It is a fantastic map clearer, and functionally is one of the best possible characters that you can play for all of the mechanics in the game: Breach, Delirium, Ritual, all of it excels at. It is incredibly fast, has a base movement speed of 54.8% on our main hand, and on our offhand swap we go up to 78%, which makes for an incredibly fast character, possibly one of the fastest characters that you can put together right now, if not the fastest. So let's get right into it. First, I will go over the gear, followed by the current gem setup, and finally the passive tree. And then after all of that, I will go over some general mechanics and how to play the character, things that you can change to tailor it to your playstyle, and other general information that I figured out while playing. Starting off, I'll just go ahead and hover over each piece of gear really quickly in case anyone just wants to immediately copy it, and then afterwards I will go in and explain all the pieces and how they work together. Our main items here are going to be a Widow Hail, Queen of the Forest, and Corpse Weed. Corpse Wade has the grants skill Decompose. Decompose causes all those green fog circles that you're seeing on the ground in the footage, and it deals 38.5% of the corpse's maximum life as chaos damage. This does not hit, but poisons enemies as though it is hitting, and it can hit multiple times per fog created. And all of this stacks up for every time you explode a corpse, of which you are doing hundreds of times a map. The biggest downside of this boot is that it has 10% increased movement speed. So without Queen of the Forest, your character is going to move like a slug. It's going to feel horrible, and it's just a terrible playstyle. But with Queen of the Forest, our character becomes much faster because of the unique line 1% increased movement speed per 500 evasion rating. But other movement speed modifiers do not apply. This means that you can scale your character's movement speed purely through evasion. With our main hand setup, we currently have 27,000 evasion, and with our offhand swap, we have 39,000. Again, providing 78.2% movement speed increase on the offhand, and 54% on the main hand. Our next method of scaling is going to be the Widow Hail. Here we have one that has been corrupted outside its usual range to 293%. This is absolutely unnecessary, but does help you scale your damage just a little bit more. It does not matter if it has rune sockets on it, as the only ones that would be relevant would be the ones that give plus 15 spirit, of which are 140 exalts each right now, and I just don't want to spend that. Next gear is our quiver, and the main lines you are looking for here are going to be +2 all level of projectile skills. That is by far the most important one, followed by attack speed, and then followed by increased damage with bow skills. This is possibly bugged, probably bugged, but is currently actually working to scale our Poisonous Concoction. As you see, if I just take off this quiver, we have 2,569 DPS, and if I put on just this quiver that has no stats besides the damage with those skills, you can see that we now have 4,937. So it's possible that Poisonous Concoction is tying itself and counting as whatever weapon you have in your main hand, which for us is a bow. Therefore, the increased damage with bow skills line is functioning for Poisonous Concoction. This could possibly be a bug and may be fixed later, so this may have to change. But as for right now, that is what you're looking for. In addition to this, you also want to get attack speed as either a suffix or an implicit by using a different quiver base. Also, you want dexterity because the character's gems require a lot of dexterity. You can also get some projectile speed on there. It doesn't really affect your damage at all, but when you throw out your Poisonous Concoction, it comes out a little bit faster and just feels nicer. But it doesn't affect your character as you're moving along at all, so it's not necessary. Next, we just have some basic gloves, a belt, one ring. These three pieces are just life and resistance sticks. I have opted to squeeze in as much rarity as I can on these two pieces, because I can. The belt, all you're looking for is maximum life, resistances, increased flash charges gained. As of right now, is completely unnecessary, because Poisonous Concoction only costs 3 flask charges per throw, and does not scale when you have multiple projectiles thrown. So if I throw that right there, you can see my flask goes down to 72 charges and it's refilling, but as you can see, only 3 charges per throw. So it's pretty impossible to run out of charges. Next, we have our helmet. This only stat that you want on here is a giant chunk of energy shield, and I will go over why in just a second. You can also get some resistances on here, just cap your resistances. Next, we have a neck. Our most important stat here is going to be the +3 level of all projectile skills. I would also opt for the second most important stat to probably be the increased maximum energy shield, followed by life, and then any resistances or stats that you may need. Int is good, strength is okay, dex is okay. Dex is probably not necessary. Next, we have a Bing's Heart. This gives 40% of our damage as extra chaos damage, 30% reduced global defenses, and 20% reduced maximum life. It's a 40% more damage multiplier on a ring. It's worth using. We are plenty tanky with it on. Next, I will give you just a brief overview of the tree. It looks like this. Comes up here, all the way up to here. We are doing a little bit of weapon point swapping shenanigans. I will go over the first weapon set points first. First, you want to get this cluster right here, followed by the bow quiver effect right here. This point here for increased poison duration, as well as this whole cluster on the side of the tree here. For the second weapon set, you're basically just taking every single evasion node that you can touch, which is going to be these here, this one down here, a few others here, as well as one here, and then these curse nodes here and here, along with this skill effect duration cluster here. The reason we are doing the weapon set passive points is just to get a little bit of extra movement speed when we press X and we swap to our offhand setup. As you can see, with just the normal setup, we're getting 27,000 evasion, and with those extra points, we get 39,000. It works out to about 20% extra movement speed, a little over that, and it's very worth doing just to get a little bit of extra movement speed while you're mapping. Some important passives to note here are going to be this cluster. It's a bit out of the way, but the final point is +2 evasion rating per 1 maximum energy shield on equipped helmet. This allows us to just use an energy shield helmet instead of doing a hybrid one, get a lot more energy shield this way without losing the movement speed or evasion from an evasion helmet. Also up here, we have a +1 maximum energy shield per 12 evasion rating on the body armor. This is not giving nearly as much. It's something I may change. It just gives a little bit of extra energy shield, but I think it's worth doing. This one's much more useful. As you can see, look at our energy shield. This thing's giving us like 900 energy shield, so it's very worth having just the energy shield helmet and maintaining the movement speed. Next, I will go over the gems. We have Poisonous Concoction, linked with Scattershot, Deadly Poison, Comorbidity, however you say that, Chaos Infusion, Chaos Mastery, Vine Arrow, linked with Swift Affliction, Font of Rage, Font of Mana, Inspiration, Dark Effigy to apply Wither, with Ancestral Urgency, Arcane Tempo, and Withering Touch, Despair, with Focus Curse, Hex Bloom, and optionally you can add Heightened Curse, although it does add a lot of mana. I'm not currently using it, but it would provide about 9% more damage. Got Wind Dancer with Life Thief, Maim, and Expanse. Pretty much none of these are necessary. Expanse is kind of nice, but these things just do a little bit extra when that procs. Grim Feast, Ghost Dance with Fast Forward and Clarity, and then Blink with Ingenuity and Second Wind. That is in our offhand. For our boots for Decompose, we have Momentum, Bursting Plague, Persistence, and Magnified Effect. Currently, Poisonous Concoction cannot be set to a weapon set, which is a little bit annoying. It just means that if you swap to your shield, you need to swap back to your weapon before throwing another Poison Concoction with X. Other than that, though, everything else works just fine. Vine Arrow is set to weapon set 1. Dark Effigy is set to weapon set 2. Despair, weapon set 2. Wind Dancer is on 1 and 2. Grim Feast is on just 1. I will go over why in a second. And Ghost Dance is set to 1 as well. So now I will go over some tips, how the character plays, how to play the character, and little things you can do to personalize it to how you would like to play. So on bosses, first thing you want to do is you place your Dark Effigy, Curse, and then you Vine Arrow. And then you start spamming Poisonous Concoction on top of the Vine Arrow plant there, top of the boss. Important things here is that the Dark Effigy is applying our Wither, which at maximum stacks is going to give 70% increased chaos damage taken, followed by Vine Arrow, which is essentially doubling our damage, because the line poisoning the plant causes it to deal additional chaos damage per second, equal to 110% of poison damage per second. Now I'll go over some possible items that you can swap into and things you can do to get a little more damage or change how the build is a little bit. Most obvious one's going to be Snakebite. Targets can be affected by +1 of your poisons at the same time. This moves your maximum poison stacks from 8 to 10, due to Pathfinders doubling the number of poisons a target can be affected by at the same time. This is like 20 to 25% more damage. You slap these on, they're really good. The only problem is that you need to make up a lot of res on your other gear. You need to get a triple res ring, probably, triple res helmet, triple res belt. Your chaos resistance is probably going to go down a little bit. Mine's at 43 currently. And you don't need this much damage in my opinion, but you can swap it in if you would like. Other than that, in your gem setups for Poisonous Concoction, I like swapping in a magnified effect onto the Poisonous Concoction itself and putting Chaos Mastery into Decompose. This doesn't really do much more damage with the +1, it just goes 0.5%, so it doesn't really matter there. But this makes your Poisonous Concoction hit just a little bit bigger, and it feels nice. So next I'll just show how to play the build in maps. Went ahead and opened up a map here. You go in. When you go in, your Wind Dancer starts stacking, so your movement speed is stacking. So it takes about like 2 seconds for your movement speed to be fully ramped. You press X to swap to your shield setup for a little bit extra movement speed, which I recommend doing between every pack. So you walk around, press X to swap to your shield to move, and then swap back to the bow, throw Poisonous Concoction, and everything dies. As you walk, the corpses are going to explode like this, creating these poison clouds. Anything that touches it pretty much just dies, as you can see. And the poison prolift from Pathfinder is going to just prolift to all the mobs, and everything is going to just die. So that's going to be it from me. If you have any problems with the build, please leave a comment below, or if you have any general questions, please leave a comment below for that as well. I will get back to those. I also gather them in a frequently asked questions section that I will pin in a comment at the top of the video, so feel free to check that out. If you like the build, please like the video, and if you want to see more builds like this, please subscribe to the channel. I'm going to leave a little bit of raw footage at the end here, just showing a full map, in case anybody wants to see that, get a good idea of whether or not this is something they would like to play. And yeah, thanks for watching.
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games.
Subscribe now and like the video.